Win up to £25,000. The Community Lottery, a subscription-based lottery that allows you to continue to support good causes that matter. When you win, good causes win. Every month, eligible good causes have the opportunity to win a share of funds that could help them continue the good work that they do in our communities. To apply, there's no complicated forms, nor do you have to be a registered charity. Just grab your phone, send us a 60-second video explaining your good cause and the difference having extra funding would make to your project. Visit thecommunitylottery.com. Hit the play button and sign up for either 13 weekly draws or by direct debit for just £4.35 that gives you 4 weekly draws. You could have the chance of winning £25,000. The aim of the Community Lottery is to create an additional source of funding that will enable good causes to undertake innovative projects that matter. If you're in, the communities win.
Right. Right. Right.
Hello, and a happy new year to each and all, and welcome to the very first What a Week of 2021, alongside with myself, Mr. C, and of course, my co-host, the wonderful, the knowledgeable, Mr. Tony Crossbody, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, good evening, Mr. C. And we're a new year, a new time.
Listen,
and look at that,
man.
new titles, new opening titles. Woo!
Listen, people, we're not playing with you this year. We're not playing with you this year. we save up our partner hand hard. And yeah, we've got a brand new start, and it's a new way forward, Tony, man. 2021, we're here. So we want to say big up to all of the listeners, all of the viewers and watchers, wherever you are. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share to us here at What a Week, only on Media Net Live TV. We want to say big special thank you to Adriana Evans.
Good evening, Adriana.
To you. Also,
Karen James. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening, Sandra Henry. Good evening, each and every single one of you. Welcome. So, Tony, how did you see in this new year?
Boy, Low key would be an understatement. I didn't even have no fireworks to watch on the TV.
Listen, listen, my brother. I had a little peek at the neighbors. Around about 3 doors down from me, they was letting off fireworks. So I was watching their firework display at their expense. I can honestly say, with my 3 sons, I've never ever done fireworks for them, and it's a tradition, I think, in my family, Tony. My father, I badgered him for years, Tony, about fireworks. My father, we'll spend money on them fireworks, and for the stupidness. I badgered him year after year. Daddy, please, can we have fireworks? All my friends got fireworks. Tony, 1 year, my father, box of fireworks, mate. Listen, I was the happiest child in the whole of Northwest 10 because I convinced my Jamaican father to go and buy fireworks. Big box of fireworks. Was there in the garden, man. He let go the first rocket. The rocket peaked, exploded. Me and my father was looking at this. Listen, Tony, I can't explain the joy, you know.
It was a moment, bro.
Listen, that rocket came back down into the box with all the other fireworks, and they all went off. Me and my dad ran for cover.
Oh.
My brother, man, that was the first and the last time my dad ever did fireworks. He cussed me for weeks afterwards.
What's the chances of that? The fireworks coming right back down in the box. Come on.
I set off all the others, mate.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
Then I was like, that is it for me. I don't ever, no, not happening.
Let's say good evening to Melrose. Good evening, Charmaine, Jemmy Reese, Angela. How you doing, Angela?
Big up,
Jackie
big up.
Pearson. How you doing? Good evening. Welcome.
Big up, each and all, man. So yeah, I mean, what can we say, man? We're here by God's grace. I know some people didn't make it. Again, we send our condolences out to all of those people who've lost a family or a loved one who didn't make it into 2021. Again, as our end of the year show highlighted a lot of our celebrities who had actually passed away. So look, Tony, it's a new year, 2021. Have you made any New Year's resolutions, or?
You know, I'm not a traditional man like that, to be honest with you. You know, because in the past when I've done so, I've only broken it. So, you know how people say, well, end of one year, beginning of the other, as if the next year is going to be completely different, but it only ends up being a continuation of what went before. So, no, I made no resolutions at all.
And what about you, our viewers? Have you stepped into 2021 with some new promises, some new commitments, some new resolutions? And how are they going? Have some of you decided to do more exercise? Have some of you decided to change your eating habits? Or are some of you giving yourself a different kind of challenge for 2021? Let us know your thoughts and your comments as well, please. Dunstan says, what year fireworks night was that? Don't you worry about what year it was, mate.
It was last year. It was a new year just gone.
All I can say, it was in the 70s. It was in the 70s, mate.
So good evening, John Estelle. Yes, we give glory and thanks to God Almighty for His grace. Indeed, we do.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Trevor. How are you doing, sir?
Big up, man. So look, New Year's, we entered New Year's with a new direction from the government as regards to a lockdown. Again, we was told on Christmas Day how we wasn't really allowed to go too many places and keep our bubbles tight. But for New Year's, we was under the strict advice to stay inside. And I think some people adhere to that rule. As our first video will show, some people decided to have a small, little gathering, 1 or 2 people in their bubble. Let's have a look at this New Year's celebration. Private, individual, bubble.
2021. All right, well done. Inchy, that dump it, the bad no bumper clock. Inchy, that dump it, the bad no blood clot. I'm telling you, but you see the original? You see the original? Bowser, tell them about the original. I'm for you the cash money part, done. If the original was you know, we're going to get the cash money part, done. Inchy, that dump it, the bad no bumper clock. But I'm for you the cash money part, you understand? What? This is fire up. Feel that? Oh, God. You're a trouble. That's why you say to you.
Yeah, we can feel that.
Notice how the video man's got his glasses on, so you can't ID him.
I noticed that there was a few wise ones amongst the crowd. As soon as the video came, there was like,
oh my goodness, man! I tell you, Priti
Listen.
Patel just put out an announcement today about them. It was them she was talking about.
Wow,
She said that there's a small minority who are determined not to follow the rules.
Well, listen, Priti Patel, we have the video. for a certain fee, we will disclose it. But all I can say, unfortunately, Priti Patel, I do not know any of the DJs who were involved in that particular thing. They were using the names of other DJs who weren't actually there. So the names of the DJs you hear in that video are not the actual DJs who are mentioned, and none of the people are recognizable to myself. I've never seen any of them within the vicinity of London or within the M25. I was vexed when I saw that, though, Tony. I got to be truthful. Listen, bro, that's what I was thinking.
No, I'm the last. I only know when it's over, man. That's my life story. Nobody might know it.
I was like, wow, man, that looked like days of old, shall we say?
That was proper social distancing
gone wrong.
Everybody looked like they were 3 meters apart, because you know it's 3 meters apart now. They're doing that.
Yeah.
3 meters apart.
Yeah.
You know, observing all.
Yeah, I like the way how they strategically was placed in their bubbles. But you know, seriously, we have to talk about this, because at the moment the numbers are at the highest they've ever been. Government officials are saying. They do say that people are not taking the lockdown seriously. So we have to ask, is that really a bit absent-minded? Is it recklessness? What say you? Have you got the same kind of views as the government? Have you got a different alternative view as regards to what the government is saying? Or have people had enough of people saying, oh man, I just need normality.
Is this the party where the grandmother died the next day due to many people being in the house?
Wow, that's a very good point. I've no idea. I wasn't even aware that somebody's grandparent had passed away. But again, if the grandparent passed away, what did the grandparent pass from? And is it possible for COVID to take effect in such a quick space of time? We know not. We know not. But again,
it didn't look like a house.
Yeah, it definitely looked like somebody's
club venue place, you know, or some private place, you know, but not a house.
Christopher Gatt was saying that the bald-headed person who was on the video did look like me. Thank you very much, Christopher Gratt. Christopher Grassing Gatt. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. My phone will prove that it wasn't me. The tracking device on my phone will prove that it wasn't me. I wasn't there.
You know, watching that, I mean, the age group there looked around about anywhere between the 30 and 40 mark, looking at it. You know, there could be some sort of presumption that COVID is really an illness for old people, and that some of these people who are like in their 30s feel that they're immune, and therefore, you know, they can gather together. It's not going to have an effect on them. Yeah.
And again, let's be serious with this as well, because a lot of I speak to a lot of young people, and what they're saying to me is that again that if they go certain places, they know who they're going with, and they also know how they're going to interact with their family and their friends. So, for example, if they know they go to somewhere where there may be more than 6 people, or there might be more than the bubble requirement, what they're saying is that they now will self-isolate themselves from other family members or friends who are actually vulnerable. So, you know, some people are dealing with it in a strategic way, and of course there are some people who are just, some people still believe that this whole COVID thing, it doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know how they can say that, because you know, we've all lost people who have been connected to COVID related death, or you know, so I don't know how some people can still have that viewpoint. But yeah, the numbers are increasing. We need to take it serious, ladies and gentlemen. There is something out there. We're not too sure exactly what it is or how to deal with it correctly. And I think the only way we can deal with this in a logical and a safe manner is to make sure that we keep ourselves as isolated as possible, and to make sure we can look after our loved ones in a safe way.
Jackie makes the point: the younger people think that it's not going to affect them. Yeah, that's true.
It's true. It's true.
And Angela asked a very interesting question. Well, if it's so bad, why are the borders not shut? So why are the borders of the UK not shut?
Very, very good question, Angela. Again, you know, these are some of the things which are being thrown up. Tony, I mean, we've seen that the Nightingale Hospital has now reopened again.
Right.
What do you think on this?
Is it actually being used yet, though, or have they just opened it to you? How is it being used? Have they got the beds rolled out again?
Right. Well, from what I saw yesterday on the news, there was nobody in there. No patients were there. I didn't see any. However, it has been transformed into a vaccination center. So on the news, we saw 2 people being receiving the vaccination, 2 elderly people, 1 lady of Asian persuasion. And I saw 2 actual staff members who were actually cleaning like the walls and certain bits and pieces of the apparatus in the hospital. So from what I can see, they was putting it to good use, Tony. I mean, look, if I look at the fact that these 5 Nightingale hospitals were built to the cost of 220 million to the taxpayer, for the time that they was in operation from April last year, the running cost for those 5 hospitals was 15 million. So that's a total of 235 million pounds for these Nightingale hospitals. Total numbers that the London hospital could hold was 500, with a potential capacity of 4,000. Out of those 400 spaces, beds, only 54 were actually used last year. And then 1 other hospital outside of London, which was Manchester, had 100 patients. So if we look at that as a total number, we're looking at 154 people, COVID cases were used in these 5 Nightingale hospitals to the tune of 235 million pounds. And now they've just been reopened. So again, these are some of the questions what people are asking. If the increase has been so bad, then why are we not using these Nightingale hospitals to treat people with COVID?
Janice makes the point that COVID exists, but not in the way the government wants us to believe. Also, very, very few people are dying with COVID. They've got underlying issues triggered by COVID. Far too much factual information not being made known to the public.
A good point, Janice. But again, how do we know this is even true, what you're saying? So, you know, where's the statistics? Where's the evidence that supports what you're saying, Janice? So, you know, who are we to believe? Are we to believe the government and the experts that we're seeing on the news, or are we to believe some of the WhatsApp stories and messages what we receive? Where do people sit with so much information?
This is what she's saying, though, because the problem is it's all right, we get the information from the government, but the figures as well as the way it's being dealt with, it's so inconsistent. People are losing trust and faith that, you know, this COVID requires the sort of measures that the government are implementing. And I think that's what Janice is saying. We're not saying that the COVID doesn't exist, but does it require the sort of the level of treatment that people have to undergo in order to beat this disease?
Well, you know what, I for one, I support what you're saying, Tony, and also with yourself, Janice. It, you know, to me, what can I say? Common sense is a big factor in the way how I think and how I make decisions, and you know, the numbers and the rationale just doesn't seem to add up, and I'm yet to see a news program or you know, a reporting kind of program cover the balance of the argument. So again, people will make up their own minds. People will definitely make up their own minds. Melrose Christo says, exactly. First, it was built for use as a morgue. Now they're moving to something else. I just want to correct you, actually, Melrose. It wasn't actually first built as a morgue. That was a bit misleading, that story. It was actually built to deal with COVID-19 patients. They was going to use another site as a morgue. However, I don't think that site was actually built, to be honest with you, because the numbers, what they was expecting last year didn't materialize. And again, it's funny how, you know, even like what you're saying there, which to me makes sense, is that if they was trying to go and build these morgues at the beginning of this thing last year in April, now you're telling us that it's so much worse in December. Why aren't these morgues being built?
And the problem is, you see, we only have one narrative coming from one platform dispensing the news.
Yeah.
So if you're a critical thinker, you're forced to think about, I think Janice mentioned that earlier, about what they don't say as opposed to what they do say.
Yeah.
Don't, like you said, there's no countering arguments, although there are scientists who have signed something called the Great Barrington Declaration. You can find that online, where they tell the government, the leading scientists around the world have said to governments, look, the measures you're taking are too draconian for what you're trying to do. But you're not hearing those arguments. So the government says, well, we've consulted the scientists, we're going with the science. So who are these scientists? They're their scientists, of course. And therefore, if the BBC and all the mainstream news outlets are putting over a one-sided story, then you are left to just digest that. That's it.
Angela Cozier says, LBC keep asking for number of deaths from this during lockdown, and they're not giving the numbers. Well, the numbers are there. The National Statistics Office has got the numbers there, so again we can look at it. But yeah, it is worrying, the fact that this, you know, something which is as big as this is not being debated in a logical and systematic manner. One more comment from Janice Bell there, Tony, if you just read that out for us, please.
Yeah. So if the info given to us by the government is true, then why is no one allowed to challenge them? And anyone who speaks out against the government gets blocked from every media portal. So that tells you what are we actually looking at? We're not looking at healthy debate here. We're looking at, well, what do you call a system that doesn't allow two sides of an argument?
Yeah, it's not a democracy, is it? It's not a democracy. But look, we're going to move things on. But some fantastic comments there. Thank you so much, everybody who's joining in this discussion. So look, we saw a little New Year's Eve celebration there, and I think this is one of the things, is that for us as people of African Caribbean descent, that the importance of music and movement in our lives is so important, and it transpires and reflects into other cultures as well. Other cultures have embraced the energy and the need to dance. And even when some cultures try their best not to dance, this is what happens. Play this next video, please.
Who got the keys to my bimmer? Who am I? The girls and sugar.
Heads high, kill them with you know. Just make a boy know you're not blow.
Everyone goes to me love sometimes. better know, you better know.
Action.
That's a bag of mood.
So we.
Don't be needy, girl, them do go. You want a proper fix? Call me. You want to get your kicks? Call me.
I would like to get to know you, baby.
From you know your belly no bang and you know say you look good in your tongue, yeah.
All of the girls be them on taxi fare. Make me see you when I put you one in the air.
It's all about Romy and them big fat sister Naomi. You two of them claim say them know me.
When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh,
Simma, who got the keys to
Oh,
my
dear.
the girls them Simma.
Oh, dear. Yeah, see, when good music.
I'd like to see them go into sort of the deepest Essex, right? With people who've never heard the music before and play it for them.
Listen, man, they tried their best. They tried their best.
No, you know, those ladies have been out to the clubs a couple of times at least.
I'm sure they have, mate. I'm sure they have, and I'm sure that there's one or two of the men who are watching this that probably recognize them. You know who you are.
While we were watching that video, a couple of comments came in, basically just highlighting the hypocrisy of politicians. Boris rides for 7 miles, nothing happens, and you know, one rule for them and one rule for us. This is the prevailing thing. And interestingly, Trevor points out that football is still on.
Yes, yeah. I mean, look, when you look at it, I mean, somebody mentioned this the other day that you know, when a player scores a goal, what does the rest of his teammates do? They instantly form a bubble which is bigger than 6. So
I reckon they all got masks in their pocket and they got this.
Oh, bless. Good evening, Carolyn.
Hello, Caroline.
Caroline says, I look mager. Want some breadfruit? I don't want no breadfruit. I want some pomegranates. That's what I want.
Caroline, we can't repeat the end of your statement on the show, but we get the point.
Oh dear, man. But listen, this whole lockdown thing is really and truly, you know, we're looking at, you know, they keep mentioning other tiers. So I mean, currently I think what we're in tier 4 now, aren't we?
Right.
So tier 4, everything seems to be locked off, which is not essential. I went to wash the car today. I couldn't find anywhere open to wash the car, so I literally had to. I felt like I went back in time, and I had to wash the car myself. I felt like a refugee, Tony.
Yeah.
Wash my own car.
I haven't done that since my teenage years.
So prehistoric.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you know, they keep mentioning this tier 5, and I think that, you know, only God knows what will happen. What would the world look like if we enter into tier 5, Tony? One man has decided to show us. Have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Tier 5.
Oh man.
Well, we have to ask ourselves: is that a step too far?
That is. We laugh, but it's quite sad. I saw an interview earlier this week with the health secretary talking about how their goal now is to actually have people have 2 jabs twice a year.
2 jabs twice a year.
I didn't want to. I'm glad we didn't play because it's a bit depressing, but yeah, this is what he said. So, and they're talking about how next winter is going to be a lockdown, so they're already thinking ahead about what they're going to do. So, you know, I mean, what can we say?
Consciously Promotion says apparently they're hinting at only letting people go out once a day. No, that's exactly what we're at the moment. You should only be going out once a day.
Actually, they're talking about once a week now.
Oh, once a week.
Once a week, and they're talking about Sainsbury's are now coming with this thing where you can't shop with your wife or whatever. People have to shop by themselves, and you can't dilly dally and chat in the supermarket. Get your thing, come out.
Wow, wow, wow. Why didn't they have this available when we were children, when we was going shopping with our mum?
I can't go, mum. I can't be tier 5.
I think this would have been wonderful for Caribbean and African children. Because when the mothers met up in the aisle, boy, and you was, because remember back then there was no big trolley, you had to carry everything. Lord of mercy.
Now here's the funny thing talking about that, right? There's a law going through the House of Lords at the moment, right, which says that children can legally shop their parents, right, if they have visitors coming to the house, right? If
Tony,
they have visitors coming to the house, or if they do anything that seems to contribute COVID rules, they will be able to report their parents to the authorities. Imagine that. So that would have worked in our day, innit? If your mum forced you to pull the trolley, you just call the police. Mum says, Mum said I don't.
They're actually taking it, I can't even say one step further than that. They're taking it all the steps further than that. They're talking about using children as spies.
Right.
They're talking children.
Exactly.
So they're even moving into the realms of terrorism and criminal acts. So they want children to shop their parents. They believe their parents are terrorists. If they believe their parents are in organized crime, they're talking about children to become spies, literally.
Yes.
Which beggars belief, man. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Police can now harass you on the street. Where are you going?
Yeah, we saw that. I mean, again, one of our viewers mentioned that earlier about the lady who was going for her normal walk, sat down on the park bench, and then was arrested. And I heard that the charges have been dropped though. But just imagine, you can't even go for a walk. Are we living in the United Kingdom, or are we living in some? I'm sure that people had more freedom in Iraq under Saddam Hussein. People had more freedom under Idi Amin. People had more freedom even under Hitler, it seems like. God forbid me saying this, but it just seems like all of a sudden that this world that we're living in, especially in the UK, it seems like a movie, Tony, at times.
It really does. Saying good evening to Donna Murray Turner. She points out that there are plenty of homeless children at this time.
Yes, Donna.
It's terrible. I mean, I was reading somewhere how the teenage suicide rate is going up because a lot of youngsters can't see their future under this sort of regime. This is stuff that's not even been reported about how the lockdown is affecting people mentally.
Yeah, man, absolutely terrible. Janice says, what a load of fodder. Government gone mad, destroying families. What will happen to those children then? Abba Father, so great to know you're still in the control and will imminently be showing up.
Well, boy, I tell you.
People are saying it's the signs of the times. Signs of the times.
Yeah. Where's this all going? I think a lot of us were probably at the outset of this. We probably thought that this was going to be lifted after a couple of months, so we can get back to our normal life. Now we're getting into a year, and the lockdown now is actually worse than it was the first time last year.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And again, there doesn't seem to be any kind of natural end to this pandemic, or however you'd like to classify it as. Because I look at all things in nature, Tony, which everything has a seasonal term in nature. We've got the seasons. We've got there's times in a particular year where you're more susceptible to flus or infections or allergies. And then there's a season where you get better, where your immune system gets used to it. It doesn't seem like they're talking this way with this particular thing.
No, it doesn't. And I guess all you have right now is hope. If you're going to hope in the government, and it's not just our government, of course. I mean, this is a worldwide lockdown. You one of your relatives in the Caribbean or in America, they don't have any more. They don't have any more freedoms than we do. In some cases, some of the Caribbean islands are even worse than what we're going through at the moment. So, when are we going to come out of this? It's anybody's guess.
Well, again, the influence of the World Health Organization is worldwide, and again, some of the incentives and some of the how can I put it, the support that they're offering makes it very difficult for smaller or third world countries to not adhere to the guidelines that they're offering. It'd be interesting to see what happens throughout the world over the next 12 months. But we're now seeing different strains of the COVID, different strains of coronavirus starting to migrate. Obviously, we heard about the second strain, which is more deadlier than the first strain. But Tony, you picked up on a very, very alarming story which just came in. Let's just have a look at this headline.
Just to show how serious the COVID is and why we need to really take things really serious. It has been reported that 2 gorillas at San Diego Zoo have caught the virus.
Wow. So,
as you can see there, one of the gorillas has already started doing social distancing from the other one.
No, and what I've noticed, both of the gorillas are looking at us, almost saying, "So what? You try to blame HIV on us. Now we can blame Una for COVID."
Gee whiz. And again, I mean, the thing is, how truthful is this, right? It's like, put that out there and just say, yeah, 2 gorillas have had COVID. How do we know? I mean, it's just more, oh my goodness, it's affecting the animal, it's all wildlife, everybody's going to get it. So,
well, to be honest with you, some certain cultures won't be bothered by that, but make it start affect cat and dog, I guarantee you they find cure for it.
Especially dog.
What? COVID come for cat and dog. Tony, me I tell you from now,
Oh boy.
There won't be no 2 jab a year business. There'll be 1 jab and it done, eradicate, it gone.
Dogs are to the British what cows are to Indians and what cats were to the Egyptians.
Yeah,
they are a sacred animal, a 100%. Revered sacred animal.
100%, man. Talking of animals, so again, if it affected corgis.
Well, talking about that, didn't we just see that a few days ago that the Queen's had a vaccination?
We've heard the Queen and Prince Philip, who, by the way, when was the last time we saw Prince Philip? Like, actually saw him, Prince Philip. Prince Philip. When was the last time? This is a little bit of homework for you viewers. See if you can find the last time Prince Philip was actually shown on video. When was the last time?
That's a good question. Wasn't it when he wasn't he ill? He had an accident with his leg or something like that. He had an operation.
And we haven't really seen or heard of Prince Philip since then. However, he's 99. He will be 100 this year. So no doubts when he hits that milestone, there will be a little celebration for him. And hopefully we will see Prince Philip on his 100th birthday. Let's keep him peeled.
The royal family has gone kind of quiet since COVID. The whole scandal around Prince Andrew. I think for a while Buckingham Palace was even boarded up. They said apparently they were doing redecorations there or something. But yeah, the royal family's been very, very low key.
Wow. They boarded up Buckingham Palace?
Wow. Apparently they said it was for renovation work, but I don't think the Queen has been there for quite some time.
She must be out. She must be either Windsor or is it Sandringham? There's other place what she's got up in. She got too much place, man. She got too much place. Yeah. So, but across the pond as well, there's been some other stories. Wow. What is happening in Congress? Serious times when we see headlines such as this next headline. So the U.S. Capitol has now been secured. However, there was 4 dead after rioters stormed the halls of Congress to block Biden's win. I think the total death count is now 5 as well. I do believe a police officer or another government official had been actually killed. What a melee! What absolute madness, Tony.
I mean, nobody could doubt that this is the news of the week around the world. I think people were sort of shocked and surprised that, well, first of all, how easy it seemed for the Senate to be broke into like that. I've heard a few comments on Facebook and elsewhere that, you know, if that was black people, that would never have been allowed to get anywhere. They would have been mown down a long time ago. You know, which leads me to suspect, you know, that something. This seems to be. I smell a rat. Like I smell, you know, that this was planned to happen in this way. Whoever did what, whether it was agreed that the security would stand down and they would be allowed to get into the office in the way they. Something doesn't really sit right with me about this.
Well, you know what, Tony, what it does, it just highlights the whole thing when we do use the term Black Lives Matters, because it shows, and we've seen this over and over again with authorities, when they're having to deal with people who look like them or of the same hue as them, there seems to be this compassion within their heart and this conflict within their heart as regards to my role as an employee and another living human person who looks like me is opposite me or opposing me. There's this resistance to act with the full force and might of the position. However, when the person is of color or is of lower class, there seems to be no hesitation, no thought at all in applying the full force of the power, even when it's not necessary. So we've seen. I mean, unfortunately, I've seen the video of the lady being shot.
Yeah, that was quite disturbing.
Yeah, and again, I suppose I can understand why that official has made that you're trying to break into a place. It's a mob. It's an angry mob. You don't know whether you're telling them to stand down, stand down. So again, if somebody's breaking in, then you feel that you have no choice but to. But again, that was just one person. You know,
Janice points out, come on, it wasn't broken into. This doesn't smell of a rat. That's too small. It smells of a big mongoose. Yeah,
well, I you see, this is the thing, and this is the thing where it comes with privilege, doesn't it? You see, there's certain buildings where, you know, they don't have large amounts of security. You know,
you say that, but I believe a few months ago, when there was a threat that BLM were going to protest, they had the National Guard all out, guns ready.
Well, yeah. But that's because BLM actually told them what they was going to do. So this is why some of the times I always say this is where sometimes for us as people of color, this is where we let ourselves down. It's called strategy. It's called strategy. We tell everybody when we're going to march, where we're going to march, what time we're going to march.
I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna rob you. You advance warning. But no, I, to be fair, I mean, I think that they knew the sort of numbers of Trump supporters who would be there. They knew what the feeling was. The supporters of Trump believed that the election has been rigged. Nothing's going to change their mind. So they should have actually had adequate security there to deal with that, and it wasn't in existence. And the fact that they were so, they were easily sort of blown over and allowed to do what they did suggests to me that something else is at play.
Most definitely. Our viewers are saying the same thing. Adriana says it's an inside job. Janice Bell, you just read that as well, Tony. Angela Cozier says white privilege at its best. Phil says how the security guard running away and not pull out gun or raise taser, but picks up baton and tells them stop while he runs away. Again, it comes to that point where if a life has a value to it, then you respect the value of that life. Whereas with, if that was 10 or 15 or 12 people of color coming through, you empty the clip, because you know through past experience not much is going to happen to you. However, you slay 15 to 20 Caucasian people.
What's interesting about this in the aftermath of all of it, a lot of people who have been identified on cameras as having been there are now losing their jobs. Or in one case I saw, there was a case where a lady who was there was identified at the airport and she was heckled and booed. One lady was taken off an aeroplane when she was about to travel.
Wow.
So there's now a witch hunt for these individuals who obviously took part in these demonstrations.
Interesting. We shall be following this story closely, because I'm sure that it's not over. It's not over. But again, if we look at the trigger point of this whole this storming of Congress by these, what do we call them, Tony? Do we call them rioters? Do we call them protesters? Do we call them a militia? What's the correct terminology for them? Because I'm sure if these were people of color, they would have a very, very, they'd have one name for them only, surely.
Well, I mean, they did damage the place, and I think they even nicked furniture and all that. So, I mean, what other word can you say that? That's not generally how you protest. But in saying that, to be fair, the protests that were going on through last year, right, with a lot of these white liberals who were joining BLM, they were also obviously involved in riotous tactics. So it seems to me, looking at it, that there's both sides, Republican, Democrat, playing off each other, because there's an ultimate goal that's going to be achieved out of this, as opposed to well, it's this side and it's this side. It's two wings of the same bird, and I think that the aftermath of this is going to reveal what's going to happen.
Just want to correct one of our viewers, Trevor White. It wasn't the White House. It's Congress. It's completely different. Trevor, I can guarantee you, if that was the White House, it would have been a completely different outcome. It would have been a completely different outcome, because the Secret Service don't play.
Well, yeah, and that's where Trump is in residence, so they wouldn't do that for their own man.
Yeah. Completely different. They've got their own kind of how can I put it, security system at the White House, and those guys, they do not play. They don't care what color you are, what age group you are, what class of person you are. There's only going to be one outcome: you're not getting in.
Yes, that's correct, Trevor. Yes, the Proud Boys, they're the ones that support Trump, and then you have Antifa and Black Lives Matter that support the Democratic Party. So you've got these two opposing sides who basically will never agree and will never meet, and there's only going to be one possible outcome, which
is, as you've mentioned it a few weeks ago.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Okay, so look, some very interesting comments. Janice Bell says, check the photos. There were the odd few token people there. We shouldn't be surprised now. We shouldn't be surprised. There's people of color who will support the most outrageous of organizations. Again, we've seen it from in the 60s, 70s, where we've had black people again leading National Front groups, again affiliations to certain far right parties, and all different manners of stupidness. I do believe that one of the far right leaders in America as well, he's actually married to a black woman. So we shouldn't be surprised when we see a token amongst them. There's always the lost sheep amongst the few.
I think the thing too as well, Mr. C, is that, you know, again, when we're watching the TV, we're being sold a narrative, right?
Yes.
And it's so easy to get caught up in the narrative, in the way the media is portraying it, when we're not party to all the facts. So as much as you know, we can hear people take one side over the other, the reality is that whatever comes out of this is not going to be good for the American people generally.
Yeah, and if it's not good for America, it's not good for the rest of the Western society. We can definitely count on that. Phyllis says there's no middle class anymore. We are being prepared for slavery. The rich and elite, masters and working people, the slaves. Good point. Good point. Good point. So let's talk about Donald, President Trump, as I like to call him. So he was the one who kind of incited all of this, and it was almost like I was watching a football game. I do believe that certain social media sites gave him a yellow card and told him, "No, stop it, guys, come on, stop it, Donald, no tea." No,
was that yellow or red? I believe he got reds, didn't he?
No, he got yellow at first. So I do believe Twitter and Facebook silenced him for like 12 hours and 24 hours.
Right.
But we know how Donald is. He doesn't listen to anybody apart from himself. And even when he's talking to himself, he doesn't even listen to himself. And so we saw something which was, oh my God, wasn't that a breath of fresh air? Donald Trump has now been permanently banned on Twitter, Facebook, and quite a few other social media platforms as well. Hush your mouth.
It's amazing that a sitting president, right, who is the leader of the free world, is no longer allowed to send out tweets. If you think about it, right? It's quite incredible that, you know, big tech companies can basically shut you up, so you can't say anything anymore. Yeah,
absolutely, man. And you know what? It just goes to show that, you know, the title of being the president of the United States is akin to being the most powerfulest man in the world. And what we're seeing here is that even we can silence you.
It's quite incredible, really. Even the way, not just social media, but the media in general, you know, just completely against the man. I wonder sometimes how he gets up in the morning with all that, you know, when it seems as if the world hates you. But I guess the fact that he had, you know, I think 75 million people supporting him, probably is all the encouragement he needs, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, when he looks at his Twitter feed, he must feel he must have that God complex. He must have. So you know, as much as I'm opposed to people being how can I put it, silence, I think, you know, people should be allowed to say what they want to say to a certain degree. It is a bit worrying that they've now silenced the president of the United States of America. It just goes to show if they can silence Trump, then who's next?
Right.
And why not you?
However, who owns the tech world? Exactly. So the owners of the tech world can press a button that can shut off the president. That's power.
That is power. or the influencers of the tech world can make that decision.
Right.
But again, you know, the influence of they've been making decisions in politics since politics has begun. So if we want to honestly believe that this is how democracy works is by us using our humble vote to vote for the person we like, to make them president, prime minister, and then that person who our little tick has helped them to get into that position of power. Now they will do what is good for us. You have got to be so naive if you do not think that the millions of pounds or dollars which was used to run their campaign, that those people who have put money, millions and millions into that campaign, are not going to claw back some kind of favoritism in some economical way, then you are naive and you've no idea how politics or business works within the world, and you need to do some research.
Janice points out, I'm neither for nor against Trump, but look at what Biden stands for and advocates. Which one is better? None of them. And 100%. You know, Janice, I'm with you on that. And, and I just find it funny sometimes how, you know, our people particularly get really caught up in the politics. We noticed it here when we were going through Brexit, you know, and actually hearing black people say, "Well, we don't want these foreigners coming in here." And I'm like, I don't know. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. You know what I mean? You've been here 70 years, and now you know you're taking that sort of stance. And for me, I just sort of stand back and like, you know what? This isn't my fight, man.
It's interesting. It's good cop, bad cop all over again, isn't it? Really and truly. And I suppose those of us who've experienced police brutality through the 70s, we remember it. we know it when we see it.
And both sides play the game. So I mean, you would have expected, for example, with the Conservative government putting lockdown in the way that they do, and the Labour government, the Labour opposition, being a party to oppose government, what are they doing? The leader of the Labour Party the other day came out and said, well, maybe we should lock down harder.
Well, listen, I would still like to know who the leader of the Labour Party is, because I haven't seen his face, or I don't even know his name. Does anybody know who the leader of the Labour Party is?
You know, there is no opposing party,
because we haven't seen or heard of him for donkeys. You know,
I remember years ago, Mr. C, I don't know if you remember, in the early 80s, man, there was a big drive for black people to support Labour because Labour was seen as being the party for black people, and you know, help us, and you know, with getting equality in the fight that we were looking for. And look over there, 40 years later.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, we saw what happened with Tony Blair. He was not the same man who when he first became prime minister. And yeah, the way how he left, man, Tony.
Right.
Yeah, you've got some Hail Marys to save, brother.
Oh, and you know that now, you know what he's doing now? He's advising the government on how to roll out the vaccinations.
Well,
right?
Say no more. So yeah, thank you very much, boss. MediaNet Live has told us it's Keir Starmer.
Oh yes, the boss has spoken.
So even that name don't look like a name I could put a tick against, you know. Is it Fear Stormer? No, yeah, Mr. Star, yeah. We will see. We will see what happens, man. We will definitely see what happens. We want to draw your attention now, ladies and gentlemen, to some new entertainment. What's been happening? A lot of people have been fed up with the Zooms, and you know, we're looking back again to television on a Saturday night or a Sunday night. I must admit, Tony, I don't know if you saw it. I was absolutely transfixed with the Chaser, the new Chasers. It's a slightly newer take on the old the Chase, where you're now up against all 5 chasers. But boy, you can walk away with some big loads of money. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was wonderful to see. And then again on Saturday night, Michael McIntyre has got a show called The Wheel. Very entertaining. Very entertaining. It's got lots of different celebrities. And again, we're seeing a lot of reflection of different cultures. We had people from the Asian culture, people from the black culture. However, they posed a question, and I want to pose this question before we show the clip. I want to pose this question to our viewers, Tony, because I want to know how many of our viewers would actually get this question right before we actually see it. So for those of you who have watched The Wheel and know the answer already, please do not join in. This is just for those who didn't. So the Jamaica flag, I'm giving you literally 10 seconds. Do not Google it, you crooks. The Jamaican flag, the top triangle and the bottom triangle is what color? Is it black? Is it gold? Is it blue? Or is it green? Put your answers in now. The Jamaican flag, the top triangle and the bottom triangle, what color is it? Is it black, gold, blue, or green? First answer, Sharon Spy says black. Carolyn says green. Phyllis says gold. Angela Cozier says gold. We need 2 more and then we'll run the video. 2 more. Come on, people. Just jump in there. Don't look. Sandra Henry says gold. And the urban psychiatrist says blue. Melrose Christie says green. Okay, go on then. We'll take 1 more. Christopher Gatt, open your mouth and let's see what you got to say. Janice Bell says inclined to say blue, but she's gone for black. Veronify says gold. Okay, so let's run the clip and find out what the answer is.
Stop! I mean, keep going! Keep going! Yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Eubanks.
That was so close to disaster. I said the wrong thing. I said stop. How confident are you about the subject of Jamaica?
You are in very good hands.
Very, very good hands. Although he might have been talking to his cane. Jamaica's the subject. We are definitely in very good hands.
I think so.
The question on Jamaica is, what colour are the triangles at the top and bottom of the national flag of Jamaica? Are they black, gold, blue, green? What do you think, Junaid?
What I'm drawn to is black. Before the options came up, I thought it was that. But it might be the wrong flag I'm thinking of. So that's why I need Chris's help.
Chris?
Yeah?
What do you think? It's the idea.
Well, obviously I've seen it all my life, but I've never really paid attention. You know that way? Like you were born in London, but you never go to Tower Bridge? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, dear!
Yeah.
Have a look. Mind's eye, Chris. Mind's eye.
Would you like to hear my answer?
Yeah, please.
It's gold.
Gold.
Yes. It's really yellow.
Isn't it the one with the red, yellow, green stripe and then the black
I've
triangle?
given you the best preamble I could.
Junaid, that's the advice, but of course it's your decision.
I'm definitely not feeling blue or green. Chris has thrown a spanner in the works. The flag I'm thinking of, it can't be that because there's only one triangle on it. So on that basis, I'm going to stick with Chris and go for gold.
We are going to lock in.
May I say?
Yes.
That's your fiddle.
What does that mean?
What do you say?
It's that what you should do.
Yes.
That's your fiddle.
That's your fiddle.
No, that's your fiddle. That's the Jamaican patois.
That's your fiddle.
But there's a rhythm.
No, I've obviously not achieved it.
No,
That's
you're
your
not.
fiddle.
It's with a swag. A swag.
Swag.
A swag. That's your fiddle.
That's your fiddle. So, you would like to lock in gold.
Yep.
That's your fiddle?
Yeah.
Right. We are going to lock in gold. Let's have a look if that is the correct answer. Is it gold? Are you still here? Are you flying through this wheel for a further £3,000? The correct answer, is it gold? That you don't.
I am so sorry.
Oh no! What's the correct answer? Green. And you are off this wheel after a sensational journey, but don't worry, you could well return. It's goodbye. Hopefully we'll see you again. Junaid, ladies and gentlemen, he's off the wheel. He's off. He's off.
That was
entertaining.
That's what you call Saturday night entertainment. I've given you the best preamble that I can.
He looks very well, though. He looks very well.
Listen, Chris Eubanks is a legend, mate. So look how many of us though. Now I've got to be honest. I was watching that and I was cussing Chris Eubanks when he said gold. I was like, how can it be gold? Those of you who said gold, gold is the cross. How can it be gold? Gold is the cross in the flag. It's black, I said. It's black. Only to find out it was green. Black is these ones. The left and the right is black. The top and the bottom is green. Wow, wow, wow. So only a few of you got it right. So who? Carolyn said green. Melrose Christo said green. Sharon Gray said green. Everybody else, man. We're in the same boat as Chris Eubanks. We need to make sure we sign up to Tony Crossbody's Black History Month lessons. That's what we need to do. Because we're lost, mate. We're lost. We're lost. We're lost.
You know something that's funny? Me and Chris used to be in the same class at school.
No way.
Yeah.
You and Chris Eubanks was in the same class at school.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That is.
It never surprised me that he became a boxer.
Good with his fists?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So the question we have to ask you, Tony, English lessons. I saw him talk.
Yeah, that's Chris, man. That's Chris.
He was like that at school.
Yeah. Not as pronounced, but he doesn't sound way off who he was.
There you go. So look.
No, Carolyn says Peckham. No, Hackney. He used to go to Norfolk School.
Okay.
Hackney. Yeah.
Hackney.
Before he moved to Peckham. Yeah.
Okay, that's probably where you get confused. Melrose wants to know, did he beat you up, Tony?
Yeah, plenty. He used to take my money.
Well, Tony, it's time for you to take his now. He got plenty.
No. He was all right. We were cool, man.
You might have to go. His son is an absolute beast of a boxer as well, man. Chris Eubanks Jr., absolutely fantastic boxer, promising hope.
Johnny says, how come you don't speak the Queen's English like him? And I thought I did. No, obviously not.
How dare you, Janice? How dare you?
How dare you? Let me look down at my glasses at you, Janice.
I think one does. You should take your tissue, Tony, and
the glove, innit? The glove.
I challenge you to a duel. Meet me at Hackney Downs at 8 p.m.
Carolyn, you're absolutely correct. I think he did actually move down there. He moved down there as well. Yeah.
But he's now the Lord of the Manor of Brighton or something on the other now, isn't he?
Yeah, my brother's done well, man.
No,
and actually, if you see him in real life, he's surprisingly tall.
I've met him.
Yeah.
He is massive, absolutely massive. So again, nobody take him for idiot. Yeah, he talks patois as well, as we can see. A lot of people didn't realize that. I met him on when they did the last series of Blouse and Skirts. Yeah, and he warned me not to take the mickey out of him when he was sitting in the front. And he said to me, he told me what he would do to me. He said to me he would bust my rice. I was like, excuse me, I will bust your rice.
You're lucky he's COVID, you know. You ain't gonna buck up on him on the road.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah,
so look, I just want to draw your attention again to another TV program, which is going to be this time on BBC iPlayer. It's written, starred by one of my good comedy friends, Dane Baptiste, but he's also got alongside him a lovely bunch of other up-and-coming, newer comedians who you might not have heard of, comedy creators. So he's got Tanya Moore, Munya Chawawa. You'll know who Munwa Chawawa is when you see him. He's the one who's been doing all these brilliant songs, these comedy songs, which relate to what's happening now. So you've seen him do takes on something like Little Wayne, and he's absolutely fantastic. A new guy by the name of Toussaint Douglas, and of course Kay Kurd, who's another new comedian, absolutely fantastic, and a wonderful young lady by the name of Lola Jagan as well, absolutely fantastic. So they're all involved in this program. It's a pilot, ladies and gentlemen, but it's available right now on BBC iPlayer. It's called Famous, which is an amalgamation of Black and Famous, and this is what he's hoping to create with this particular program, to create more Black famous faces on TV in the genre of comedy. And we've got a little sneak preview of a particular clip. Here we go.
Hello?
Hello,
Who's that?
it's the BBC.
What? What?
Just to inform you that Sir Lenny Henry is off to Sierra Leone.
Why are you telling me this?
Because it's your turn.
My turn? My turn? Yeah, it's my turn. No, I earned this. Okay, not yet.
Oh man, I've been waiting long enough. That's right, Miss Taylor from primary school. How about me now? Now it's my turn.
Hi, it's me, Dane. It's my turn.
Love that. So that's Dane Baptiste letting the BBC know that it is his time now to do some comedy at the BBC, and I've got 100% faith in this guy, man. I've watched him from when he first came into the industry. He's won massive amounts of awards and acclaim. He did his very first series, which was called Sunny D on BBC iPlayer. He's managed to sell that to America. He is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And even though he's very articulate and very well educated, and I would say in between middle class to upper class, he is so grounded in his roots and what he's trying to do for his Black people. We need to support him 100%. So please, even if you don't watch all of it, put it on so that we can get the numbers, the viewing figures, and hopefully get that commissioned into a series. And you never know, we might get a little party night myself.
When is that show, Mr. C?
It's available from 6 a.m. this morning. So you just go on to BBC iPlayer and just search for Famous, Bamous, and you'll be able to find it straight away.
Okay.
And Phyllis is there saying, and he's really a nice guy. He really is. He really is a nice guy as well. No matter how high he climbs in this, he doesn't forget his people. You know, so and he will be a guest on our show in weeks and months to come.
Excellent.
There you go. You heard it here first. So, what else has been happening, Tony, as regards to media and social media? Anything caught your eye this particular week?
Well, I think this one here, which many people would have heard of, can we just have the slide up? And it has to do with our good old friend WhatsApp, which many of us use as a message service. But many of you will be aware that from February the 8th, or prior to, you will be required to agree to new terms and conditions, which means that they can sell your information on to Facebook, because of course, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. So how do you feel about that? Are you happy with your information being taken and used by Facebook? Are you going to update the terms and conditions, or how do you feel, Mr. C?
I've already done it. I've already updated my terms and conditions. The reason being, I've got Facebook. I use Facebook. I've got Instagram. Facebook owns Instagram as well. I use Instagram. So, probably I don't send particular pictures anymore on WhatsApp, possibly, because they've got all the other information already, to be honest with you, from myself. So. I think that a lot of people, Tony, will migrate from WhatsApp, which for me, I think I'm quite happy with that to happen, because it's going to reduce the amount of nonsense that I get sent on WhatsApp. So I'm looking forward to the fact that a lot of people now are looking at other platforms. I think it's been dominant for far too long. People rely on it so much. And yeah, I'm looking forward to something new and refreshing. Yourself?
Janice says, so I'll tell you a second. Janice says it's been happening already. This is just a smoke screen. You know what? To be honest with you, I'm conflicted. Part of me is like, you know what? I don't really want. I want to. I've lost so much privacy as it is. Do I want to give away any more? There are other platforms like Telegram or Signal that I could use, because all I want to do is actually send messages. So I'm seriously at this point considering just cancelling all my social media altogether, to be honest. I'm at that point where I feel that I don't think it serves me as it probably once did, and it's not worth it to hand over all my information when I'm not getting any value out of Facebook particularly. So yeah, I'm on that kind of cusp of going on a social media detox.
Sorry, Tony, just want to stop that. Please, any of our viewers, do not text anything to claim any prize to this number. We don't know who this person is. I don't know I don't know that number at all. Please, please, please do not text any details or anything at all to this particular number. Yomede, my brother, come on, man. Family, please.
He's been blocked. He's been shown the door.
Please. Come on now. It's 2021 and you are using 2018 tactics to take things from people. Come on, man, please. Don't let me have to take shoe and hit you in your head, thump you in the top. Sorry, people.
He's gone then.
And scammers. Thank you very much, management. Sorry, Tony, you were saying.
Yeah, so I'm just saying I'm on that edge where I'm sort of conflicted about it all, to be honest. I mean, like I said, I've lost enough privacy as it is. And do I need to update those terms and conditions when all I want to do is send messages? I'm probably going to migrate over, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, there's been some ones. I mean, I've heard about there's a guy, a Sierra Leone native who is actually living in America, I do believe, who's created an African kind of WhatsApp Afro app or something and the other. But again, there's a few little tweaking issues that he needs to deal with before it's up and running 100%. But there's so many other platforms. So please do your research, people. Make up your own minds. Don't just go where everybody else tells you to go. It's really important when it comes to your privacy, what you actually sign up to and reasons why you should go somewhere else. And just, again, always be wary of new platforms. You need to make sure how secure those new platforms are before you jump onto them.
So Telegram, for example, doesn't have end-to-end encryption like WhatsApp. But Signal does. But at the moment, Signal is overloaded, so it's actually quite slow. So with these platforms, you kind of have to wait a while before migrating over until they iron out these bugs. Otherwise, you know, you're going to find yourself in a bit of problems. And I saw a point there, I think it was Angela who made the point that, yeah, when Facebook took over WhatsApp, they probably did all that already. They're just telling you about it now, you know, so that's probably very true.
Well, this is the final bit, because remember at first WhatsApp, because WhatsApp WhatsApp was very, very secure. So secure, in fact, that even if FBI or CIA or various other government agencies wanted to try and get information out of WhatsApp, they wasn't able to. So what the FBI and CIA did allegedly was to use an associate, Facebook, allegedly, to go and acquire WhatsApp, and now they have access to that information under the guise, allegedly, of other types of business sharing information. But again, you've got to be careful, because you know, look into the origins of other platforms before you jump onto them, is what I'd say. Because again, one of the easiest things to do is to set up another platform, then say to this particular, make an announcement that WhatsApp now is changing its policies. You're going to now jump on this new platform, which probably has got some back door, which allows them to do various other things and find out other information about you, and you wouldn't be aware of it until it was too late. So be careful, is what I'm saying.
I think the reality is, Mr. C, is that every platform, even the new ones that people are migrating to, you know, have that issue. I think if we did a little digging as to who owns and runs these companies and who's got the most shares in them, you're going to find some FBI, CIA, MI6 intelligence agency behind it. So, you know, I think the whole narrative about, well, you know, we're going to sell your information, but these people over here are safe, is just, again, another narrative for people to follow.
Yeah, just want to say that there are other government agencies out there which are equally as good, i.e. Mossad and everything. Oh, yeah. we don't want to favor any particular secret service. Thank you, Carolyn. Yes, that's what it is. It's called Sup Africa.
Yeah.
Sup Africa.
As in Sup Africa.
Sup Africa.
Sup Africa.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I was struggling with that, mate.
They couldn't call it WhatsApp Africa, so they kind of Sup Africa.
Sup Africa. Sup Africa. Tell us now. Now, look, Tony, just before we hand you over to do your fantastic Black History Month section, Nigel Farage said a few words this coming week. Wow. What was your thoughts?
It's quite interesting, because he's not normally a personality that you know, that Black people actually listen to because of his sort of far right views. But it was interesting when he was talking about what's actually happening to the UK, and it is his belief that it's becoming a police state. I mean, we've touched on this earlier when we were talking about the COVID, and actually he was the one that pointed out that laws are coming out to turn children into spies. And so he's very much concerned about the idea that, well, is this really about COVID after all, or is this about turning us into some sort of East German Stasi state? And it was a very interesting interview. We just didn't have time to play it today, but I just thought that was interesting coming from a politician, because you don't normally hear them say things like that.
Yeah, and I you know what, I saw the clip and I said to myself, wow, I can't believe that I'm agreeing with Nigel Farage. But again, I think what it is that Nigel Farage in this particular area can see sense. Janice Bell says every media device is tracked and monitored already. It's just that they're now making it known by pretending they're giving us an option. Totally agree. Totally agree. We've already seen that one where the police have got a device where it doesn't matter what you've deleted on your phone. It can look up old pictures, videos, all different kinds of things, contacts, messages deleted. It's all there still. Unless you know how to delete the memory of your phone correctly, all the information is still there. That's why you got to be so careful when you get rid of an old mobile phone as well. Just doing the normal delete is not enough, people. If that phone gets into the wrong hands, they will be able to acquire old deleted information on that phone. So yeah, definitely, we'll see what happens. So look, Tony, I've got to say I'm excited for the very first Black History lesson of 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching for the very first time or might not be aware of this particular part of the show, this is where we hand total control over to Tony Crossbody, who's been taking us on a journey over the last 2 to 3 months of Black excellence and Black knowledge and wisdom and history. So if you're not sure of what he was talking about before, then please go back and look at some of our previous shows. There's an actual section on MediaNet Live on the YouTube where you can see just these Black History Month sections. Please watch it with your children, man, and help them to acquire this knowledge of self and past and future as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we please turn our attention to Mr. Tony Crossbody as he gives us our Black History Month section. Over to you, Tony.
Okay, so let's do a recap. We've had the booze, we've had the turkey. Perhaps, you know, our memories lapsed a bit. So I just want to sort of recap on what we've been discussing, and then we're going to sort of take it forward. So for the last, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks, we have been trying on this platform to give you a narrative, a story that explains the reasons as to why the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade are in the situation that they're in right now. This is not just in the UK, this is in the USA, it's in Brazil, South America, and everywhere where you find our people, we are very much in the same position. Now, over the years, we have heard lots of Black history stories, but unfortunately what we end up having is just pieces of a puzzle that seems to be very difficult to put together. And so we've been trying on this particular show to try and give you a narrative that you can follow and even research yourself, because we try to provide the sources that you can check. We're not trying to just give you opinions, but rather sources that you can go check for yourself to see if there's anything in what we're saying here. So the last few weeks, I have pointed out that those who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade are the original Hebrews of the Bible. But it's not just me saying that. Let's look at the first slide.
Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them. There's been books written about it from scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people. And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today, who are white, Caucasian people, came in a little bit later on.
Right, so that's a Jewish rabbi historian, Harry Rosenberg, who knows the history of the Jews.
And you know what I found interested in that, Tony, is his body language. You know, like when you say to a child, did you take the cookie, the last cookie biscuit, and the child goes, well, you know, as soon as you put their hands up like this.
Right. And you notice his sort of coy language. Well, maybe they were. Maybe they were the original people, and maybe we, the Jewish Caucasian people, came in afterwards, right? So now he's a rabbi. right? So he will know the histories because he would have access to some of the information that we generally wouldn't have access to.
Yeah. There's no maybe about it.
Right. So it's interesting, obviously, that we credit the Hebrews, the original Hebrews, for writing what today we have called what we have today, a book that we call the Bible. And within the very pages of the Bible, right, these very Hebrews foretold what would happen to them. Next slide. So those Hebrews foretold in their own words within the pages of the Bible that at some point in their history they would be enslaved in a foreign land for 400 years. Now, a lot of people who've seen those verses presume that is actually talking about the slavery that they endured in Egypt. But actually, that's not the case. Why? Because the Bible says that the time they spent in Egypt, as well as the land of Canaan, was 430 years. So this was a completely different slavery that these people were going to undergo. Mr. C, could you read that scripture for us, please?
Yeah, they will be forced into slavery and be oppressed 400 years. Genesis 15, verses 14 and 15.
So this was basically going to be their fate. At some point in the future, from when these words were spoken, these people were going to end up oppressed and in slavery. Now, the particular verse in Genesis 15 points out that it's one particular nation in which they would be enslaved for exactly 400 years. We know, for example, that the slave trade started much earlier than 400 years ago because the Portuguese basically started enslaving in the colonies from as early as 1526. That is longer than 400 years ago. But the Bible points to a specific nation that would have Hebrew slaves within its boundaries for exactly 400 years, of which much of that would be enslavement and the rest would be oppression. Now, which nation was that? Next slide. So, your favorite president, Donald Trump, signed a House Representative bill noting that African American contribution to the United States lasted for 400 years. It's called HR 1242 if you want to Google it. Next slide. So how do we know it's 400? What's the date that we need to go by to be able to count these 400 years? Mr. C, if you could just read the underline for us, please.
The United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colonies at Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619.
So the highest levels of American government have pointed out from their understanding of the history that African American contribution to the United States started when the first enslaved persons arrived there in 1619. Now, what's interesting about that is if you count 400 years from that point, and the first enslaved persons actually came onto American soil on the 20th of August, 1619, if you count 400 years, when would the 400 years be over? Please feel free to comment in the box, and I'll tell you in a little bit. When would the 400 years be over if on the 20th of August, 1619, was when the first enslaved peoples landed in the United States? What year would we come to? Next slide.
We were prophesied to be in America 400 years. Let's deal with that. Go home, get your Bible. Open to the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter. the 14th, 15th, and 16th verses. It reads like this. Know of a surety, Abraham, your seed is going to be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. And they shall serve them, and they shall be afflicted 400 years. Who you think that's talking about?
Good. So we've had a few answers. Angela says 2020. Adriana says this August. I presume you mean this August coming. Mero says 2019. Sandra says 2020. The answer is August 2020 was the end of the 400 years. Now, interestingly, what was taking place in August 2020? The world was on lockdown, and for the very first time in history, the plight of black people and the way they've been treated came to the forefront, came to public consciousness. Interesting. So we have a situation where a 400-year prophesied term of enslavement in the United States has come to an end. Now, can we find anything about the United States in the Bible? Well, let's be fair. The word America or United States is not in the Bible. However, there are very strong indicators as to what America is referred to in the Bible. Let's have a look at this next slide.
Number one, this is an Egyptian picture. The Great Pyramid in Giza, Egypt. We have the Great Pyramid on the back of the $1 bill. The all-seeing eye of the pyramid is said to be the all-seeing eye of God. However, in Egypt, it was Horus or Ra who was looking down on the nation. The Washington Monument is an obelisk, which is actually, if we go back to Egypt, was a monument to the sun god Ra. And again, we're not saying that that's what we made it. Our founders took it and redeveloped it, but I'm saying this is Egypt. That's where it came from. We're just simply telling you where it came from. The Egyptian leader was called a young lion among the nations. Egypt had a 5-pointed star that represents the 5 forces of nature, and our flag has 5-pointed stars on our flag. The Statue of Liberty, which we call her Lady Liberty, was patterned similar after the Egyptian goddess Isis. The phoenix bird, which never dies but reemerges and redevelops itself, was actually the first bird representing America, and it was later changed to the eagle being, of course, an emblem of...
Right. So in that little short skit, the reason why I've had that played for you is to show you the similarities between the United States of America and ancient Egypt. As you can see, some of the symbols they heavily use a lot of Egyptian symbolism. But the most interesting part about where America and ancient Egypt are alike is the fact that they had the Hebrews as slaves. Right? They had the Hebrews as slaves. This is where Egypt, ancient Egypt, and the United States of America are connected. So within the pages of the Bible, in prophecy, when you read of Egypt, it's actually talking about the United States. Next slide. Mr. C, if you could read that for us, please.
You are more powerful than anyone on earth, and you became proud and arrogant. You will be punished for your wickedness. Ezekiel, I think that's 31. Is that 31?
Yeah, that's right, 31.
Yeah, 31 verses 3, 10, and 11.
Right, thank you. So this is a description of Egypt. And it points out that Egypt is more powerful than anyone on earth. Can anybody deny that the United States is not the most powerful nation that the world has ever seen? It stands head and shoulders above other nations both militarily, economically. It's extremely influential. It has bases all over the world. And the Most High points out, yes, that's what you are. But what happens to them is their pride and their arrogance and their treatment of God's people has led them open to judgment. Next slide. So let's go back and look at this verse again. So see if you read from the green where it starts, and then so people can see what the actual scripture says.
It reads, then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there.
And carry on.
But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions.
Right. So the Most High foretells that his people are going to suffer a 400-year slavery and oppression. We've identified where that is because the government of the United States have pointed out exactly that we have had you for 400 years. HR 1242 is the House Representative Bill. The Most High says that after that time, he says, I will punish the nation they serve as slaves. So modern Egypt, just like ancient Egypt, is due for a judgment from the Most High. Why? Because of you. Because of how they dealt with God's people during those 400 years. And we don't need to remunerate the treatment. We know what that was. These people are God's possessions. They have been abused severely. And the Most High was never going to let that slide. All calls for reparations from black people have failed. All protests to get equal rights have failed. Anything black people try to build on their own gets subverted. The Most High says, I will deal with it. The question is, how does he judge this nation? In what form does this judgment come? Next slide. Many of you will be watching the news and saw what happened at Congress last week. Many of you will also be aware of the political climate in America right now. The divisive nature of the hostilities is such that it can't be repaired. Many groups of people, including black people, are now arming themselves and preparing for what they know is inevitable. Even the media are talking about it. And yet, 2,500 years ago, the Most High wrote about what would happen to the Egyptians. Mr. C, can you read that scripture there?
So I will provoke Egyptians against Egyptians, and they will fight each one against his brother and each one against his neighbor.
That's taken from Isaiah chapter 19, if you want to look that up. The whole of Isaiah 19 is about the judgment that God is going to bring upon the United States of America. Why? I repeat, for what they have done to his people and what they are still doing. Next slide. Now, interestingly, the Bible presents a lot of details about how this judgment is going to occur. And as well as civil war, the Most High has pointed out that America will also be invaded. Mr. C, if you read that, the green section, and I'll explain what it means.
An enemy from the north will attack you, beautiful Egypt, like a fly biting a cow. The foreign soldiers you hired will turn and run.
Right. So, not only is America going to be embroiled in civil war, America is also going to be attacked. And notice, it points out that it's going to be like a fly biting a cow. Now, in this case, the cow is America, right? But the fly is obviously some little no-name country that on its own could never defeat America. Which country is that? It's yet to be seen, but we do have candidates. So the Most High says an enemy from the north will make an attack. And then the scriptures go on to talk about how a number of armies will invade the United States. Now imagine this. That sounds like an impossibility, but imagine this. What is the United States going to be like in the midst of a civil war? What is its government going to be like? What's the laws going to be? What's the army situation going to be? The Most High has foretold that his judgment upon America is civil war followed by an invasion. Next slide. So more details about this invasion. Mr. C.
It reads, your soldiers will be killed by the cruelest army in the world, and everything you take pride in will be crushed. I will slaughter your cattle that graze by the river, and no people or livestock will be left to muddy its water. The water will be clear and streams will be calm. I, the Lord God, have spoken. Egypt will become a barren wasteland, and no living thing will ever survive there. Then you.
Right, thank you. So here again, we get more details. So an army, an invasion of an army, a cruel army, will take over the nation. This is the judgment that the Most High brings. Now, if any of you are familiar with the Bible, you will know that in times past, God has used the same technique when dealing with nations of the past. He's often used other nations to come in and bring down the nation that he once brought down. We see examples of that. For example, what happened to the Babylonians when he made the Persians invade them, and even his own people when the Babylonians took them into captivity for their wickedness. He has a technique that he always seems to use one country's army to invade another to get judgment done. Next slide. Mr. C?
You were like a tree, taller and stronger than everyone on earth. But now you will be chopped down and you'll be sent to the world of the dead. Ezekiel 31, chapter 31, verse 18.
For those of you who actually have a Bible to hand, you could actually look up Ezekiel chapter 29, 30, and 31. They are all about the judgment of Egypt. And notice there again the description of America, like a tree, taller and stronger than everyone on earth. But the Most High plans to have it chopped down. Why is he having it chopped down? Because of what took place with his people and what they endured for the 400 years. Next slide. Now this is when it gets interesting. Mr. C?
This is what the Lord says. The allies of Egypt will fall and her proud strength will fail.
Right. So this is more details about Egypt. But now, what is it telling us? It's talking about the allies of Egypt. So if Egypt is America, who are the allies of America? Let us know in the comment box. Can you name some allies of America? We see it on the news quite regularly. One particular place has a special relationship with America. Does it not? The statement of the Lord is very clear. Not only will Egypt fall, but the allies of Egypt are due to fall.
Sandra Henry says England. Angela Cozier has put up the red, white, and blue. Veronica, England. Great Britain, says Elisha Foster.
So if you said England, very good. That's it. That's one of the many allies. What does the Lord say? The allies of Egypt will fall. Why? Do you remember the UK is the mother of America? The UK birthed America. The UK had a large part in the transatlantic slave trade. The UK has never apologized for what they've done. They've never compensated the descendants of the slave. In fact, the descendants of the slave paid in their taxes up till 2015 monies that went to the descendants of the slave masters. Most High says the allies of Egypt will fall. Next slide. Here is a list of the top 10 allies of the United States. So we have Canada, Australia, the UK, France, Italy, Ireland, Israel, Norway, Sweden, Germany. How do you think they have treated the descendants of enslaved people? The Most High says the allies of Egypt will fall.
We need to include Belgium on that list as well. They got some.
Yes,
they got some payment.
Belgium. Yeah, even Brazil too. I don't even think Portugal's on there, or Spain. But all these countries that dealt heinously with the people of God are in line for judgment, and that has been written. It's just that obviously many of us who've gone to the churches, this is not what they teach. And I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago about the reasons why, even in the black church, this is a subject that's avoided. Next slide. So, those of you who live here in the UK, Most High says the allies of Egypt will fall. We are to expect then that the United States will become embroiled in a full-scale, coast-to-coast bloodbath of a civil war. The Most High has already written about it. The first salvo, or the first warning shot, is what we saw a few days ago in the Senate building. And the feelings that that incident has aroused within Americans on both sides. There is no coming back from that. Because why? The Most High says that I am stirring that up. I am stirring that pot. Because it's part of my judgment upon that nation. Why? Because of what they did to my people. And when I'm done with the allies of Egypt will also fall. That brings us to you and I. Now, many people are hoping soon the COVID's going to lift and we're going to go back to our normal life, go back to our holidays, our weekenders, and our good times. Well, let's wait and see. But the Most High has written that whatever purpose he has is going to override any purpose we have. And as I've pointed out over a month ago, America is the sign that you need to look out for. What happens in America is going to have ripple effects to us here. And therefore, the Most High's judgment is going to visit various places on the earth. So that means for those of us who are God-fearing and to a certain extent we're believers, maybe it's a time for sort of self-reflection to look at where our life is, right? I've got to look at what my life is doing. Because if judgment were to catch me out, where would I be? And you've got to ask yourself the same question. So many of us have been, living this life for so many years, thinking, well, there can't be a God. Where was he during slavery? He's not doing nothing for us. Let's move on. Let's just do our own thing. No. The Most High wants to arrest your attention now and tell you, not only am I doing something, I'm on the way. And so the words that were recorded from heaven have now started to reach earth. The question is, where are we going to stand?
Beverly says, if you're including Brazil, it's already falling apart. There's pure devastation in parts of Brazil are being washed away by massive floods.
Right.
Janice also says, this is great and factual information, but we must understand that because we have gone so far away from God and have started serving the gods of our ancestors, many of us will get caught up in his wrath on these nations. His wrath that's already there. It's time to repent and return to God.
So we've pointed out, Mr. C, do you remember we were talking about a few months ago when we were examining other nations and about we were looking at sort of like the modern day Jews, and we were looking at the Asians, and we were talking about how they are connected through their spiritual fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where they have a sense of community because of that spirituality that they share? And obviously, as a people, we have pretty much been very much in the dark as far as understanding who we are. And so much so that the Bible says, well, you are lost sheep. And so when you're lost and have no sense of identity, then you're going to live like you have no identity. This is why, for example, a lot of our American brothers believe very passionately that America is their country. I've got relatives that live there, and when you go there, when you go to visit them, they've got big flag in the back. Right?
Very patriotic.
Very patriotic black people.
But then on even in the UK, we have the reverse effect of that, where we have young people over here who believe that their postcode is there.
Yeah, they're patriotic about their postcode. But we do have a growing number of young people now who say, well, directly that we are British, you see. We are British. And why do you blame them? Because at the end of the day, if you have no other identity, right, other than Caribbean, and remember, the Caribbean is not our home because the Caribbean is a transshipment point from which you were dropped off.
Well, I used to always say to people who used to always call me British because I was born here, I used to say to them, Jesus was born in a barn, but it doesn't make him a donkey.
Right. So your whole identity has been kept away from you. We spoke about how the empire uses the arm of education, the church, and the media to mislead you away from understanding who you really are. And that why by keeping you blind, it keeps you occupied in the sort of mundane things of life, while the world around you is changing. And there is no doubt about it that the world right now is changing from what it was before. We have never seen a lockdown worldwide such as this. We have never seen the issues of black people come to the forefront as now. Maybe this is why the Most High has chosen to arrest your attention now, because he knows if it was normal times, you were raving, you wouldn't have time to listen. But now you ain't got nothing to do.
100%.
He wants to get your attention now. So, my friends, my brothers and sisters, it's the United States. That's where you got to watch. That's what you got to watch. The developments there. Those developments are going to affect you here. For those of you who are Bible readers, I would encourage you to get it out and start reading. Look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 19. You'll see the overthrow of America described in graphic detail.
Signs and more signs, man.
Next slide. Can you just read this last one first, Mr. C, please?
The Lord is a jealous and avenging God, protecting and demanding what is rightfully and uniquely his. The Lord avenges, and he is full of wrath. The Lord takes vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserves wrath for his enemies.
Thank you. So there you go. So when the Bible says vengeance is mine, this is the vengeance that the Lord has always been talking about. Vengeance on behalf of his people, because he knows his people can't do anything. His people do not have the military, political, financial power to release themselves from the oppression that they're still under. And because that 400-year time period is now over, that is the reason why you're seeing the movements in the United States as you are. It's not just a political situation. The hand of God is in that. And this is going to affect you here in the UK very, very soon. Next slide. So if you're interested in furthering your research, if you want to know more about the lineage of those in the transatlantic slave trade, I'm going to put up a couple of books on the screen that you can check for yourself at Amazon. Have a read, have some research. Don't take for what I say and believe everything I say. But equally too, don't be quick to dismiss it. Do your own due diligence, because these things should actually tie up with world events if we are correct. If we are the people, then the things that we've been talking about this evening should occur, because the Most High doesn't lie. Of course, men do, but the Most High doesn't. Next slide. Yes, Mr. C, that brings us to the end of our discussion today.
Wow, man. Another eye-opener, Tony. Thank you so much, man. Let's give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Again, just bringing all the new viewers up to scratch as well. Again, there's so much more. If you want to go back and have a look at some of the back catalogue there, management have actually chopped them up into nice bite-sized bits for you, where we just focus on the Black History Month section. So you can actually go and view those right now on MediaNet Live TV. And again, feel free to share them with your friends and again your children as well. It's just so important for our young people to be aware of all of this information. And again, just to the standing upon the knowledge of self is such an important way to move forward in one's life. We want to say thank you as well to all of the people who got involved in all the comments today. There were so many where I know we couldn't read all of them out. Janice Bell, thank you so much for your in-depth comments as well, and quotes from the Bible as well. Thank you very much. Beverly, Phil as well, Carolyn, Veronica, Angela Cozier, so many of you who have been joining in the discussions as well within the beginning bit of the show. We thank each and every single one of you. But you know what you got to do? You got to like, you got to subscribe, you got to share as well. So and that keeps everybody happy. It keeps it keeps the watchers happy, it keeps us, the presenters, happy, it keeps management happy, and also importantly, it keeps our sponsors happy and provides platforms for new sponsors to come on board and to make this program even bigger and better. Now, management, myself and Tony, we had a little sit down and discussion. And one of the things what we're looking forward to is your involvement in the show, ladies and gentlemen. Tony has come up with a fantastic idea as regards to getting you guys involved. Tony, please share this idea with our viewers.
Right, so the idea is that we want more, well, it's everybody's show, isn't it? It's not just me and Mr. C and the management, but it's your show as a viewer. So what we're looking to do is each week we're going to notify you guys through our contacts, and we're going to let you know what points we want to discuss. And what we invite you to do, we're going to invite you to do, is to give us 1 minute or 2 minute video of your opinion about the points that's under discussion. So you're going to get to see, these are the subjects we're going to discuss, and you can choose any point you want, make a video for 1 minute or 2 minutes, send it in to us, and then we'll play it on the show. Because this is your show.
So there you go. So you'll be able to come and your viewpoint, your comment will be shown on our platform. And again, 1 or 2 of you, hopefully, will even make it, as we had the last month, as a special guest on our show. We'd love to invite you onto this show. We really want you guys to understand that this is not just our show, it's your show as well. In fact, it is our show. Carolyn, I will eat some extra dumplings just for you, darling, just for you. What it is the dark colors makes me look slimmer than I actually am.
yes, I look forward to that. Moving forward, you know, we're going to be sort of putting, I think either on Facebook on MediaNet.live. Those of you who are on my contacts, those of you on Mr. C's contacts, we're going to sort of let you know what the subjects are in advance. You'll get a chance to air your opinions, and we're going to have a great time. So it's going to be more viewer participation. It's your show. It's our show. It's all our show.
Most definitely, most definitely. And we'll close upon the words of Elisha Foster, who says, if we as a nation refine spirituality, raise our vibration, reconnect with our true selves and true nature, we will dominate like kings of the jungle again. Naturally, all will fall into order. So on that note, we wish you all a wonderful week. Catch myself and Tony back again next week, same time, 7 p.m. You know, it's the time, 7 p.m. Bang on. Come on. Share, like, subscribe. But most importantly, get involved. We'll let you know what the comments, what the talking points will be. And we really welcome your videos with your comments and ideas. So good night from myself.
Good night from me.
And this has been What a Week. God bless. Take care.
Right.